James chapter 4. James chapter 4. Now you remember that last week I emphasized having a lot of grace, a lot of mercy in the home because it's needed. And I was saying last week, by way of real, I want to say that I was emphasizing how it is important for you and for me to have that in our lives as we live together as husband and wife and as we raise our children for Jesus Christ. We need a lot of love and grace, both mom and dad, because you think you know your spouse, but it's not until you get married and live with them for a little while that you really get to know them. And what was covered over, not deliberately, and what was hidden, not deliberately, in a deceptive way, but the reality of two people who are different coming together in holy matrimony, and then every day, every morning, every night, every day, every morning, every night, 7 days a week, you get to know that person, and sometimes there is a shock to it. And so as you live longer, you begin to realize that your beloved spouse has got some problems. Not big problems, but little things. And then when the child comes along, you're so happy, you're so excited, and then pretty soon that child, you realize that you so much love and so proud about their first one, and then second one, third one, and so on. You find out that they take a lot of time, and you've lost a lot of freedom. Well, you lost freedom when you get married. But you have found out that things are different, and it's not the same anymore as when you were single, and it's all different now. And when I emphasized last week that you need a lot of grace and love and mercy and all that, it is very true, because when you are exposed to your spouse's weaknesses and everything else, you find out that you don't have much grace, you don't have much mercy. But our model, our example, as you keep your eyes on Him, as you both keep your eyes on Him, you can have what you need to have a good home. Otherwise, all of your tradition, all of your ways that you were brought up in may not have been totally wrong, but you bring in all these things from both sides, and it may not be adequate to help you have a home that you want to have. So grace and mercy was necessary for you to have last week, but it does not excuse us. There are no excuses. There are no excuses. Even though you need to have a lot of grace and mercy, there are no excuses why you should continue doing some things that are wrong. Okay? So grace and mercy, they are blessings to have. Psalm 103. John chapter 8. Jesus Christ is our example of grace and mercy to that woman. Got to have that in your home. But you also have to have in your home this intolerance toward things that are wrong. This intolerance toward things that are irritating. This intolerance toward things that drive your spouse to want to go home to mother. Or to take off for the whole day and just go to a park and just relax away from you. So you're going to have this attitude of no toleration, no excuse about certain things. And so that's why James chapter 4 verse number 17 says, "Therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin." I want to talk about that this morning for the next 30 minutes or so. Let's pray. Father, I ask for your blessings and your help this morning. Though some of the things I say are still general, I still pray that you would give us a good foundation ourselves to do better, to want to do better, to want to have a better Christian home. And I pray that you help us this morning. And I do need your help as well as I try to deliver the message that I think our folks ought to have. And so I pray that you help us to listen well, help us to see some things in which we can improve on, and help us, Father, to keep doing the right things in our lives to have a good Christian home. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. You can have a seat. Now, James chapter 4, when it says, "Therefore to him that knoweth to do good," there is an assumption here, and really, you can't do certain things unless you know what to do. So there has to be a know what to do. "Therefore to him that knoweth to do good." There has to be an awareness of what I should be doing. Now, it's kind of hard to tell people who have been saved for a long time, you ought to be doing this. Because we assume, and I assume, that people who have been saved for more than 10 years ought to know better. But forgive me if I go through over some territory that seems to be very, oh, well, I knew that. But the mistake that we can make is to assume that people know some things. So no matter how old we are as a Christian, no matter how long we've had a family, it's a possibility that we have forgotten, neglected certain things that we should be doing. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good, so we have to know what to do. Okay? Are you still with me? Same page? All right? We have to know some things. There has to be some awareness. Now, Peter, 1 Peter chapter 3. Come over here with me. 1 Peter chapter 3. I want to get to several things that are destructive to the home, but I want to refer to 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, because this short passage tells us some things we ought to know. Some things husbands should know, some things wives should know. Now, wives, do you know it all? I don't think you should say I do. Husbands, do you know it all? I don't think we would ever say I know everything. So, let's look at chapter 3 of 1 Peter. To him that knoweth to do good. We must know some things to do. All right? So we must know. We must know. We must know some things. All right, the first thing to know is in regarding the wives. Likewise, verse number 1, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands. Now that word is a real hot word to the world today and to culture today, because they have redefined the word subjection. They make the wife and the woman feel like she is second class, that she is not worth anything, she has the little value. Man is superior in the sense of he is better than a woman. And that's not what the idea is here. So don't be afraid of the word subjection. All right? Subjection is a good word. It's a Bible word. Likewise, you wives, in relationship to your husband, be in subjection to your own husband. And he emphasizes your own husband because there's many things pulling on a wife's subjection. Do you know that I have no authority over your wife? If your husband says something different to you than I say to her, you better take sides and go with what your husband says. Hopefully your husband is also is a spiritual man. But even if he's not a real spiritual man, you always want to defer to what your husband says over what I say. I'm not going to be a problem in your home. It's not my place to come in there and drive a wedge between you and your husband. That's not what I do. That's not what the Bible says. All right? So sometimes pastors get this notion that they are, here's the word. All right? All right, these things reflect attitude. And some pastors believe that they are like that. You know, it's not true. If a pastor tells your wife, without seeing you first, about a position, a role, a voluntary, or something like that, and it's something that has to be filled in the church's life, and she may have the skills and the, to do certain things. If he doesn't approach you first, sir, father, husband, and she wants to do something. Women like to do things, they like to help out, right? Isn't that true? Women like to help. I can do that, I can do that. Oh, you can? Well, why don't you do this then? What's required of me? Well, 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day. But I have children. Well, but we need your help here at church. It just requires 8 hours a day. But take heart, there's a 5-minute break for the 8 hours a day. All right? And and the job description is such that, and she wants to do something, and then she doesn't talk to her husband about it. And then there's trouble now, because she wants to do something. Her husband says, what about our kids? Well, you can take care of them. No, but you see, so there's a problem here. If her husband says, I'm sorry, but he should have asked me first, he's right. I'm sorry, you can't do that. Well, but I really want to. No, be in subjection to your own husband. She's not unspiritual if she denies or declines an opportunity to serve the Lord. Is she not serving the Lord by taking care of her family? The answer is The answer is she's not unspiritual to take care of her family over serving the church. There's so many problems among Baptists because we think that you must be serving the Lord, and I believe in that, in the church, and I believe in that, but you neglect your family. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in neglecting your family to serve the Lord. Your family, your little, whatever they are. See, your family, your child should be more important to you than serving the church. Wow, that's like heresy to me, to some people. Brother, I don't think that's biblical. No, I think you're not biblical. I think you cause problem in the home by making these people in your family not so important as serving the church in some capacity. You don't sacrifice your family for the sake of serving the Lord in a church or something else, okay? So there's a little balance of it that you got to take into consideration. So if the husband says no, then you should listen to what your husband says. So this is the general idea here. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wife. So if you have an unsaved husband, Peter says, your good conduct, that's your conversation. Conversation, we think of words. So when he uses conversation, he's like saying, well, your actions, your behavior, it speaks volume. Your behavior toward your husband in the home, it says something to him. There's a lady in church a long time ago who was denied coming to church. And we told her, she wanted to come to church, but she said, oh, my husband doesn't want me to come to church. I said, well, you need to listen to your husband, risking her not being in church. So she said, honey, I wasn't there for that conversation. I got this from her later on. This is a long time ago. She says, honey, not to me, to him, her husband. She says, honey, I'd like to go to church, but if you want me to stay home, I'll stay home, but I really like to go to church. I wish you let me go to church. But if you insist that I stay home, I'll stay and do what I got to do. If whatever I got to do, I'll do it. But I wish you let me go to church. For a little while, she could not come. But after a while, he kind of let go of the grip. He said, well, if you do this, then you can go. And if you do this, you can go. And so she finally got to come to church regularly. Well, she was telling her husband, what you say to me is very important. I am in subjection to you. Her husband's still not saved. But she was saying, I honor you. The Bible says to subject myself to my own husband. The pastor's not trying to get between us as a couple. He's trying to support our home. And so he says, do what you say. In effect, really? 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 You mean he didn't? No. He said, do what you say. And in that worked out where she gets to come regularly. That's what that's about. It's her conversation showed him that the Bible is not trying to be an enemy to him. That I'm not trying to be, and the church not trying to be an enemy to him. So we kind of have to work with real people in the real world. All right? Sometimes being bullheaded and stubborn is a real bad thing. Sometimes insisting on doing things what you think is the right way is a real problem. Verse number 2. While they behold your chaste conversation, while your unsaved husband watches you, you're speaking to him by your behavior. While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel. Now, if you stop right there, you would get this idea that it's wrong for a woman, for a wife, to put on an earring or to wear any jewelry or to wear any makeup, things like that. Let's read some more. But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and a quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. Now, these verses, and if we were to read sometimes on your own, verses 5 and verse 6, it's about Sarah and how she was an example of submission to her own husband. Now, the woman here is to have a demeanor and an attitude and a a way of talking that is not like that. A meek and a quiet spirit is preferred over an outward beauty. Now, he didn't say, don't have outward beauty. He did not say, do not comb your hair, wife. He did not say, do not put on any makeup. He did not say, don't, make yourself look pretty for your husband. He didn't say that. When I look at the Old Testament, I think about Sarah and Abraham. What kind of woman was Sarah? How did she look? Well, there are 2 chapters in the book of Genesis in which men wrongly wanted to take her. And one group of people in Egypt, when there's a famine, Abraham's going down here, Sarah's going down over here with him, and he says, honey, I got to tell you something. We're getting close to Egypt now, but there's food over there. But listen, as we get close to Egypt, we've got to be real careful because the men down there, they're like this. They're bad people. They take what they want to take. And honey, you're a beautiful woman. You are well favored. And he says, when we get down there, and sure enough, the princess of Egypt took a look at her and they said, whoa. They probably said more than whoa. But they saw Sarah and they thought, tell them that you're, we're our relationship. And so she was an attractive woman. And in Genesis 20, Abimelech wanted to get a hold of her as well. And in both cases, we read very plainly that Sarah must have been an attractive woman. Now, apparently, she was not uncovered to show her body, apparently, because that's not how they dressed in those days in biblical times. But her face was seen, so her face must have been attractive. Now, I don't think, and I'm not saying anything else. I'm just saying Sarah was an attractive woman. Which is simply to say, God made her that way. And I'm simply saying this by application. This outward business, he's saying, don't sacrifice inward beauty for outward beauty. The inward part of a woman and the inward part of a man is more important. If you were to have one or the other, the inside is more important than the outside. Now, the Pharisees went overboard, didn't they? They made the outside so great and so perfect. They were white as sepulchres, but inwardly they were dead men's bones. He's saying, let the inward person, that beauty of that spirit, of that the heart of a woman, that godliness, that the character, all these things, let that be the important thing that your husband sees. And he's not saying, though, that beauty is bad. Some women should put on a little not black lipstick. Not black lipstick. Is it goth? Is it called goth? Okay. It's my opinion. I think a little color is good. I think a little charcoal or whatever it's called, eyeliner or something. See, I think it's okay. It's not wrong. Now, some women need that. I didn't mean like that. I mean to say it like that. I'm simply saying there's no condemnation of outward beauty. But now, if you would look like Mr. T, all that gold jewelry and things, it weighs 50 pounds, that's kind of overdoing it. And if you go the Hollywood route, the CMA route, the entertainment route, now look, there's no need for that, all right? What gets your husband to want to know the Lord is not all of that. It's this. That's what he's emphasizing. So the wife is to be submissive to her own husband. She's to have a spirit, an attitude, a heart that is attractive. And it's attractive because there's a nearness to God. See? Now, let me just say one more thing, and I'm going to the next verse. When I was in high school at, the other side, when I went to that school, we were bad as high schoolers. We were just ignorant of anything with character. And so, a lot of the football players, they did this. They would sit in the wall, dangle their legs, and watch all the high school girls go by. Now, I have to say, back then, the dress was a lot more decent than it is today. And so the guy's looking at the faces, primarily. And so pretty girls would come by, what they thought was pretty. Usually it was the Portuguese girls. The local girls, dogs. But it was the Portuguese, the haole, the fair skin and all that was attractive to the local guys. And they said, oh, wow, she's really cute, she's very pretty. What they were saying was they were attractive to them. Just their face and their hair. But what really turned them off was when they began to talk. When they opened their mouth to each other, it was a turn off. Hey, what? The kind, huh? Oh, wow, what, bro? Shut up. The pigeon really turned everybody off. Funny, we all spoke pigeon, but the pigeon turned us off when beautiful women or pretty girls spoke. It was like, oh. And then when they chew gum. Isn't that gross? And so the beauty was not really that attractive, although initially attracted, but as people got to know each other better, that was a big turnoff. That was not so important. Oh, after a while, that got kind of old. So these guys had they call it steady, going steady. Going steady. It's not quite engagement, but it hopefully leads to something more serious. But, I'm going with her. I'm going with him. It was a big deal. I am going. You often wonder, where are you going? Well, they weren't going anywhere, but they were going together. They were exclusively mine. This is mine. But there's nothing official. It's just, okay, we had this agreement. See, I'm going with you. But after a while, they break up. What happened? What happened to so-and-so? I thought you guys, oh no. Yeah. Well, the problem is she began to talk. And when she opened her mouth, it was like, oh, what a turn off. The point is, the outward is important, not as important as what's inside. The inside is always more important. Ladies, if you're married, you ought to really be careful about taking care of the outside, but also take care of the inner man. You need to have your time with the Lord every day, be in the Bible every day, be in church. You ought to have some sense of, I want to know the Lord better. To a man, that is very, very attractive. A man who wants to be a godly husband and father, that is very attractive to him. But if all you care about is the outward, oh wow, I saw, and you go out and buy all these kind of things, and you dress like what you see on TV or in the movies and things, and your husband's saying, whoa, what's happening here? No, I don't want that. He wants something else that's more real. As they say in the 60s, are you digging this? You understand? And he's saying the inward is more important than the outward. But there's no condemnation of being pretty on the outside. Now, a woman wants her husband, on the reverse side, she wants her husband to be as fit as possible. Is that right? I'm asking your advice. No. A woman does not want her husband to fall apart. Because the husband is supposed to be the protector. He's supposed to protect. He's supposed to protect. He's supposed to lead. And he's supposed to be the guy for her. And she wants him to be healthy. She wants him to be a little bit smart. She wants him to have some common sense, some I can fix it attitude kind of thing. She wants that. She needs that because that's what a husband does. All right? He takes care of the flat tires. Well, the tire's kind of low, honey. You know what the guy says nowadays? Well, we're all equal. You do it. We're not different. You do it. No. The right way to do it is for the guy to be responsible, take charge, and do the things that a man ought to do. I do miss the masculinity that men used to have. I miss the manhood that boys are being raised, they don't have. I miss that the guy has got muscles. I miss that the guy can lift things. He can lift up a 50-pound bag of rice with one hand. I miss that the guy can do push-ups and sit-ups. I miss that men today are not effeminate. No, I don't mean like that. I miss that. I don't like that men are effeminate. I miss that men are masculine is what I'm trying to say. Did I say it wrong? It doesn't sound right. It's good when Don, it's good when young men grow up to be men, okay? It's good that men, when they grow up, they have a sense of pride in a good way, that they are able to carry and lift and push and pull and things like that. And they can tear a coconut with their teeth open. Now that's masculinity. And they can beat that coconut. If that doesn't work, they can beat that coconut until the husk falls apart. The other day, Francis came over. I said, Francis, I got some coconut that is on the ground. You can have as many as you want. I said, I got a pickaxe you can use to open. He said, no, I don't need that. I use a knife. And then he said, no, I use a hammer. I said, no way. This guy got that coconut with a hammer, and he beat that thing until he was able to pull it apart, and then he did that, and then he did this. Don't ever get him mad. He'll eat you. So there are some things that a wife really wants from her husband that's more than the outside. There's some things a woman needs from her husband that's more than, look, it's the reverse now. You want a man that is spiritual, but you also want a man that's practical. Some men are like this. The Bible says, okay, and they got an answer for everything. They got every verse and chapter. They got it memorized. They know everything. They know everything. But they don't know how to do anything. What is that all about? Where's the practical outworking of Bible knowledge? Oh, but they know everything. They can argue with you. They have every answer. Everything is what the Bible says. Well, that's good, but you need to have some practical sense about you as well. All right? So a woman needs that. A wife needs that. Kids need that. There are some things, if you are to do them, you have to first know what to do. So those are general things so far. All right? All right, let's go look at something else. I want you to know that when it comes to some things you ought to know, these are the things where I somewhat apologize for, because you ought to know that this is wrong. All right? I want you to come to the book of, let's see what I got here. The book of Philippians chapter 2. Here are some things you ought to know. Philippians chapter 2. Now this is kind of personal, but it's not personal. I should say the Bible is personal. Philippians chapter 2. Here are some things you ought to know to not do. And the Bible does have things to tell us we don't do certain things. And here's one of them, Philippians chapter 2. And verse number 3. 2-3. Did you find it? Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Now what word would describe verse number 3? Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory. All right. The word that I would use to describe that would be selfish. All right? Selfish. Selfishness is one of those irritating things in a home that makes your spouse have a lot of grace and mercy towards you because you're such a selfish person. Selfishness is akin to being devilish. Selfishness is, remember the imaginary boards? It's like another pile, another board thrown on here, where it makes a barrier between you and your spouse and your family because you're just selfish. Got to do it your way. Got to do what you want to do. Just selfish. Hard-headedness, selfish. Now sometimes if you don't know what's going on, you have somewhat of an excuse. But once you find out what's going on that's wrong, you should stop it. Now, years ago, I would come home, I'll take up my socks or my shoes, and I would do this. I would throw it on. You're never going to believe this. I've long quit doing this. I used to throw it on a kitchen table, dining room table. Come home, take it off. I was being responsible. We don't wear shoes in our house in Hawaii, yes? So I take it off, my socks, and throw it over there. And she came over and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking off my socks. I don't want to wear my shoes in the house. Don't put it there. Put it there in the hamper. I said, okay. I want to be a good husband. But see, I did that ignorantly. I didn't realize there was a problem, irritation to her. What's wrong with socks being on the table? So I improved because I want to please my wife. I want to please my wife. So I improve. And so I take off my socks. When I come home, I put it on the counter. That's an improvement. It's not so obvious. What is this? This should go over here. That's where it should go. Right there. Well, I did it ignorantly. Now, my illustrative ignorance goes far beyond socks. You want to know, don't you? Let me change the name because the character would be, it's generic. It can be generic enough to apply to you. I'm visiting a friend in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm young. I'm 18, 19. I'm young. Along with the youth comes ignorance. Along with that comes stupidity. Along with that comes not being aware of your life and about how people think about things. Isn't that somewhat true? That's why you shouldn't get married so early. Because you're dumb and stupid and young. It all goes together. It comes to the package. It's a package deal. If you girls marry someone that's younger than you, I mean, you better watch out for some rough rides ahead because that person has no life experience. I had no life experience. I'm staying with a friend in Chattanooga, Tennessee, happens to be an art teacher at Tennessee Temple Schools. And I'm staying there, I'm thinking, I can stay here forever, free. It wasn't forever, it wasn't for free. I stayed there for a week or two, and they're such nice people, nice Southerners from Tennessee, Chattanooga. And Mrs. Carol Kirkpatrick, she was so gentle to me. She knows a dumbhead from Hawaii. And so she doesn't want to say anything to me, but I'm doing this in the kitchen sink in the morning. I'm doing this. I can't do it, but you get the picture. Imagine, I come over here, I clear my throat in the sink, in the kitchen. I clear my throat. Of what? I clear my throat. And I don't even realize I shouldn't be doing that. I rinse it down, the water. And then after a while, Mrs. Kirkpatrick she says, after I do that, she says, you know, Cam, you shouldn't be doing that. And I say, doing what? I'm so ignorant. She said, what you just did. I said, what did I just do? She said, you just spit into my sink. I said, yeah, what? Ignorant, unaware. But once she told me that, you know what I did? I went to the bathroom, spit in the bathroom. Not there. I wasn't aware. Once you are aware of what to do and what not to do the right thing. Don't be rebellious. Don't be selfish. Well, I don't care what you think, Carol. I'm your guest. I'll do what I want. Don't be like that. Now, when it comes to your home, you guys, you got to be real careful and considerate about your wife's feelings. You really should be. Well, I know, but I'm the man and I'm the head of the house. Yeah, but you're not supposed to be so selfish. If you have kids, thank God you got kids. Some men say, I got kids, I can't do that. You got a bad attitude. You should say, well, I like to do that, but I can't because my kids, they need me at home. My wife, she needs my help at home. I got to get home. Instead of doing that, some guys, you know what they do? They say, well, yeah, I can do that. I can shoot some baskets with you. Really? Yeah, when? And you go for 2 or 3 hours. While your wife isn't home, taking care of dinner, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids. She's already had a long day. Now she's got triplets, and now she's due to have twins the same night. And then, it's just a burden. It's just a burden. And you're going to shoot baskets with your friends because you're selfish. You haven't even thought about how your wife might need your help. I'm not talking about I'm not going to work because no, I'm just talking about having some sense to know, consideration for your wife's feelings. Now I speak from bad experience. All right, so don't be selfish. No, to him that know it, you got to know that it's selfish to just put your own desires over your wife's and over your family's. It's selfish. I don't care. I'm going to shop Amazon. I'm going to spend $150 for this thing. Well, I don't know if we can afford it, but I'm going to do it because I really need this. Well, why don't you check first before you spend all that money? And on down the line you can go. For examples, now come to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. Here's another thing that you ought to know about, because if you know about it, then you won't be ignorant about it, then you can do what's right to do instead. To him that knoweth to do good. Let's do good instead, all right? Ephesians chapter 4. This is a very simple and a common verse. Ephesians chapter 4. And in this chapter you have a series of putting on and putting offs. A series of putting on and putting offs in this chapter. Come to verse number 25. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth to his neighbor. Look at verse 26. Be ye angry and sin not. So here's the next thing you want to be careful about. Anger, all right? You want to be careful about your temper and your anger. Now, guys especially, I'm sure women get mad too, but you need to be careful about your anger. You cannot be... You know what that is? A stick of dynamite. You know what that is? That's a short fuse. And the tension in the movie, where that thing's going to go, or the powder, and it's going to blow up. And so they know how to create tension in the movie. Believe me, they're experts at making you feel tension. A wife feels a lot of tension if she believes that you're on a short fuse. You can't say something, you can't bring anything up because you will blow up. Explosion. All right, this is the Big Bang. It's not about evolution, it's about your husband blowing up. Big Bang. Now, a wife may not tell you that she's afraid of that, but it causes a lot of stress, a lot of friction, a lot of anxiety when the wife cannot say something to you because you got a temper. Can't do that. Can't be that way. Now, we ought to get mad at some things, all right? A man should get mad about some things, but not about because your wife says something or the kid says something that bothers you, irritates you. Oh, I can't believe it. You got to have some sense about this, all right? You cannot be like that. You have to know that that is wrong and stop doing that. Ask God to help you overcome the temper. All right. What about this one? Can you read that through the explosion? Alcohol, strong drink, Proverbs 20, and many verses in Proverbs, we know that that is a bad deal, a bad thing. But men tolerate it, men do it, men consume it, men think they can control it. But that thing's a bad thing in every which way. It costs you that. It costs you that, doesn't it? What about cigarettes? Oh. Now, anybody here, I shouldn't ask that question. Does anyone still smoke cigarettes? You know how much a pack of cigarettes costs nowadays? I can't believe how much it costs. That's why I quit. I quit last month. No, just kidding you. That's not being recorded, is it? $10, $12, $15 a pack. That's not a carton. Now that, oh man, I tell you, that thing that you stick in your mouth, that thing that you enjoy, that thing that really improves your lungs, that thing that just makes you smell really good, that is so expensive. You know how much you spend a month if you smoke regularly? It is incredibly expensive. But you do it because you're stubborn, you're selfish, is you. No. You got to stop doing some things that hurt your family financially. And health-wise too. So you got alcohol. You got to stop doing that. Look at Luke chapter 18, verse number 10. I don't know why I'm having you turn to this one. I can just write it down, but Luke 18:10. Let's look at this other one where you need to stop. Never get into this. Luke 18:10. You've got alcohol. You also have this problem here. That's got to stop. All right, it's the big A word. That's the scarlet letter. The scarlet letter. Luke 18:10. Now, I'm not making this one more important than the others, and I'm not having to read this because of that. I'm just turning it to it because I do want you to see it. Luke 18 and verse number 10. Jesus said, that's not what I want. The verse I'm looking for, this is what happens to write in my own handwriting. The verse says, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Do you realize that when immorality is prevalent in a home, in a man's life, everything is not right? When there is adultery in a home, nothing is right. The man's senses is dulled. The man's senses, it is warped. His view on things is not squared away. He cannot be right with God when that goes on. It cannot happen. It's got to stop if it is. I'm not saying anybody here, but I'm just saying as a rule, that will destroy. The fall of nations is not because they have poor military. That is a part. But the fall of nations is because they have an immoral culture. And the immoral culture, it clouds everything about their thinking. Nothing is ever as it is. Everything is just kind of messed up in there, and there's not good thinking when you justify adultery and immorality. America's kind of like that right now. Nothing, there's no clear thinking because the mind has been so fogged and all messed up because of this immorality. Cannot have that. Cannot have that. All right? Now, 1 Timothy chapter 6. I hope I got this one right. 1 Timothy chapter 6. To him that knoweth to do good. All right, let's do good. There's another part to that verse. I'm going to get to that in just 1 second after this verse. 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse number 6. 1 Timothy 6, verse number 6. Here's what is missing, and here's what is needed. But godliness with contentment is great gain. All right? You have people that are malcontent. They're not content. Now, Paul talks about be content with such things as God has given to you. Okay, that is to simply say that you are not to... Now, that is not to say do not have a vision, do not have a goal, do not have a plan. That doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean you want to have you need a bigger car, pray about a bigger car. You need a better house, pray about a better house. You need, see, that's not wrong. But the malcontent is one who's never satisfied with whatever God has given to him. They got to keep up with the Joneses. In Hawaii, it's keeping up with the Taniguchis. It's keeping up with whatever is got to have a new iPhone. Why? Got to have iPhone number 15 or whatever. Why? I wonder why. Well, just because. Now, contentment. Be content with the wife of thy youth. It's in Proverbs. What's wrong with you? Just because you know the pretty face doesn't mean you have to chase after the pretty face. What's wrong? Something wrong. Something wrong. Be content. Well, but she's not as pretty as she was when I married her 20 years ago. Well, neither are you. Dog face. Chubby. Mr. 4x4. Your chest was up here, now it's down over here. Well, what if she said about you, I'm not content with you because you don't look so Mr. Charles Atlas anymore. Now you look like the elephant that he used to carry. She doesn't think about ditching you. Why do you think about ditching her? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with people today? Even Christians. What's wrong with Christians who say, I'm not happy with my wife? You know, some of these Southern gospel singers, some of the celebrities, not only are they corrupt and evil in their heart and they're malcontents, a lot of people across the social spectrum are also malcontent. I heard about a guy who got married for 4 days. Famous actor, well, famous to the world, got married for 4 days, and in 4 days, got a divorce. 4 days. That's got to be a record of stupidity. No, for real. I'm not. 4 days. Can you imagine? You get married, and then 4 days later, you know what he said? He said, I was drunk. I wasn't thinking right. Well, shame on both of them, really. 4 days. Take marriage so lightly. Take marriage so lightly. Take the vows so lightly. 4 days. The Bible talks about be content. Be content. There's some things, you are what you are because God made you the way you are. If you're 6'4" and you want to be shorter, it's not going to happen. There's a joke about a guy going, there's a school called the Diminishing School of some mythological place where people who are tall always bump their heads, they always tower over people, and they always intimidate people because they're so tall. And so now there's a technique that you can go to by learning this at the school to make yourself look shorter. It's funny. Most people want to get taller, don't they? Yes, they do. Well, be content with what you are. God made you a certain way. You've got the bone structure, a frame that God gave to you. You have no choice in that. What you do have a choice about is what you put on that frame and on that structure. You have a choice about that. So your bone structures, you got nothing to say about that. And how you look, you get nothing to say about that. However, you do. So the wife should not be trying to become what she's not. There's a lady who mimicked a so-called Hollywood star. I refer to this because Hollywood has been the source of so many problems with people. This woman mimicked someone she admired to the letter, to the point of where she took pills and killed herself because her star that she admired did it as well. I'm not going to mention her name with the kids around, but I'll tell you, this woman was obsessed. She was not content with what she was. She wanted to be like somebody else. Tragic story. But she died because she wanted to be like this great woman she thought so obsessed, so unhappy, such a malcontent. The Bible says, be content with such things as you have. Can you stand up? No, don't stand up, but can you stand up? Can you do this? Doesn't it feel good to do that? Now, if you're sick, you might wheeze, but can you scratch your head? Can you brush your teeth? Can you eat? Can you digest? Can you get up and... Do you have clothes that you can... Of course you do. Do you have a place you go home that you call your home, whatever it is, rent or own, doesn't matter. You see, you have a lot of material things. You have something about you that you should be happy about and content with. Now, if you want to build muscles on your body, okay, go for it. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to look more attractive and you want to comb your hair so that your hair is more appropriate to your age. I mean, look, if you are 100 years old, you should not wear certain hairstyles. It just doesn't make you look younger. And it's okay if you want to look younger. I'm serious. That's not wrong. And if a guy wants to look thinner, then you can do something about that. Don't wear horizontal striped shirts. Wear vertical striped shirts. A little bit of free advice here. I'm just saying, I'd be content about a lot of things. Now, he does say in James 4, therefore to him that knoweth to do good. So now the first part and the last part is real fast. You have to know what is right to do and what is wrong to avoid, okay? But the second part is, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not. That's the second part. Know what to do, and then do those things. He says if you don't do what you know to do, that's a sin. So if you know some things are right to do, but you don't do it, it's a sin. If you know that there's some things wrong to do, but you keep on doing it, that is a sin. So know what to do that's right, and then do it. Do not just excuse yourself and say, well, I know, but you don't do it. That's wrong. You're obligated to do what you know to do. How can your home be better? Know what is right, do what is right. What irritates her, what irritates him? Okay, you realize that? Stop doing it. Stop throwing the socks on the kitchen table, dining room table. Stop throwing it on the counter. Put it where it's supposed to be. Do some common sense things that makes your husband happy and makes your wife happy. Why am I even preaching this? Why do we not know this? There is a culture beyond the walls of this church that are totally unaware of some basic common sense things for the home. It's a sad commentary on our culture and our educational system. We've all been geared to just think about my happiness, what I want, my dreams, my desires, and my foot. My foot. How about thinking about somebody else? Like your wife, or like your husband, and putting each other in the right place. How about keeping your eyes on Jesus Christ to solve your problems? So that's a little bit of general things today about irritations. Ask God to show you some things. If your wife and husband complains about some things, look at it for what it is. Don't just say, "Oh, we quit." Sometimes it just happens, but you can't let it linger. You can't stay mad. You cannot. Do the right thing. Well, now look up here, please. Look up here. Stop writing notes. Does this make some sense? Is this something that is doable? Is this something that you and I can put into practice? And if you do some of these things, would it not help your family? Would you not like to come up to a happy wife? Yeah, who wouldn't? Would you not like to see your husband a little bit happier, smile more? My wife likes when I smile. I don't smile too much around my house. I just kind of have a frown. I just have this face that says, I ate pineapple sandwich. But truthfully, I'm going to call it truthfully, probably it'd be good if all of you guys, you men, start thinking a little bit differently about how you are at home. And you wives, start thinking about how you have to honor your husbands by submitting to him in the right, proper ways. Both of you ought to keep your eyes on the Lord, that's for sure. That sure straightens a lot of things out. Okay? No psychology, no this, no that, no fake, no substitute, no artificial. Real thing, spiritual. The Lord will help you along the way. Here's a good saying that applies tonight or today. Here's what it is. And I want you to repeat it to me, repeat it with me in just a second. But here's the statement. Let me read it out for you. This is for the dramatic effect. This is true for many things. Okay, so here's how this works. The right road and the right place here is, I'll use this word. Okay? The right road leads to the right place. Is that what you want? Now, I know happiness is happenstance. Well, sure. A happy home because things are happy. The happenstance, the events, the things that go on in the home routinely are good things for each other. So, if you get on this road, and you stay on this road, meaning this road is this right here, okay? That's what that is. If you stay on that road, it'll go like that sometimes. It'll go like this sometimes. But as long as you're on the road, you get to the right place. And one day you sit down with your wife in your old age and you say, not her old age, but you sit down with your wife one day in her old age and you say, it's been a good life. Mm-hmm. It's been a good life. Our road has been up and down, winding, but it's been a good life. Because, you see, that's how it ought to be. It should not be the exception. It should be the rule. It should be the routine. Don't wait until you're old to try to get things right. Do it today, this week. Putting some things in practice today, this week, to get the ball going in the right direction so that your life can become really, really much better as husband and wife, as a family. There's no more important congregation that you have than your family. All right? Okay, I'm done for this morning.